Hey guys, what's going on? Today's video is going to be the 200 efficiency nuke. So again, let me go ahead and explain a little bit about the cannon, but before we do that, let me go ahead and press the button. Now I'm not really sure if I filled it correctly. I sure did. But to be safe, I'll just do this, because whenever I take a schematic, I just try to empty the dispensers so you don't get those ugly ass yellow dispensers in the schematic. But let's go ahead and fire this bad boy up. And let's see this right here. It's built at Y200, meaning that the platform goes at Y200, as you see right there. So you can build it lower than that. You can actually build it as low as you want, but you cannot make it higher than Y200. If you do that, it's not going to have enough sand, because I tried to make it exactly the amount of sand you need. This cannon here specific might be able to go a little bit higher, but I wouldn't risk it, because the hammer and everything is calculated to stack 204 sand and nothing more than that. Now let's go ahead and check out if it nuked everything. It sure did. So we are reaching some of the bigger cannons here in the efficiency nuke section now. As you see, I have tried to make it as compact, at least the hammer as compact as possible. You really didn't need this side right here, this entire side right here. You only needed this side right here, one more up. So what I did is I just made these in between right here, and it worked out perfectly, so it should be good on that one. But if you do figure out that, oh okay, well it doesn't really stack enough, then it's probably this, just add one more row and you're good. But on one shot it works perfectly. But I have actually seen it going the other way around on other servers, which is a little bit weird. Now let me go in here. The nuke is getting pretty big, as well as the hammer is getting pretty big. And of course we will have to use a 2x booster with a little bit more TNT right here. It does look a little bit silly, but don't worry, it works perfectly, and it should be working on your server as well. Now, this block right here, I know it looks stupid, but it was as compact I could kind of make it. If I wanted to do this, well, we don't need this block right here. If you see that, it just connects to that one. I would need to move this one, but I don't need extra TNT in the boost and stuff like that. So it wasn't really an ideal way. Like, it was either this or move it one and have even more booster. So I just placed this block right here. It's not something I normally do, but since I could save so much space, and since I could save so much TNT by just placing one block, I choose to do so. Let me know down in the comments if you don't feel the same way. Now, again, we're using a dual cycle operation, one push, and we are using that for all the efficiency nukes. And the reason for that is that they are extremely fast, first of all, and they just seem to work better on pretty much all servers, all the way around, no matter what server you go on. And the reason for that is probably that some servers has piston push limit on chunks, so you can't push more than, let's say, 10 pistons in a chunk or something like that. And as well as comparators, if you use the other way, then it has to make some pulses, maybe like 5-6 pulses. Some servers has that disabled as well, so this way is just an all the way cannon, mainly because I know a lot of you guys come from Psycho, a lot of you come from different servers, so I wanted to make sure it works all the way around. Now, this right here is the nuke, and that's basically what you see nuking down. If you go ahead and press this button here again. That's basically what you see nuking down everything. So the sand stack is right here, and you see this nuke right here. That is basically what we call the nuke, and that is what's over here. Which in this case is with the sand. It goes into the same tube as the sand right here, and I get pushed into the cannon under the same thing, so the same block right here, and I'm getting pushed out onto that guider, and that is basically what gives us this nuke. Now, I do want to go into a little bit about how that works and stuff like that. But for now, let's go ahead and take a more general look at the cannon. So, over here, we have the repeaters for the hammer. And over here, we have the repeaters for the hammer as well. Now, if you want to change something, try to see if you can change it on this one here. First, if you need a full take, well, that's what you need, but it can shoot 27 chunks without having to do much, so just keep that in mind. So if you have to put a tick on it, there's something wrong unless you're shooting more than 27 chunks. This one right here has to be here to be able to extend the redstone. Already now, as you see, one repeater is count for one tick. So there's already 2 ticks on the hammer, and it should be plenty of ticks to shoot as far as possible actually. So if you do need to change it that one, not that one there, because then you're going to mess up with the order of entities, and I'm going to come into that in a second. But you don't want to do that. But this right here and this one over here, or this one in the case, can be changed if you want to change the hammer. Now I made this space here in between the slap boss and the hammer, and I did that on purpose, so you can add a repeater right here if you want to downward hybrids. I don't know if you've seen some of my guides, but I kind of taught you how to downward hybrids and stuff like that. So that's how you do that. Pretty simple. Now the slap boss looks kind of big, and I did this mainly because to stop this kind of nukes, there's not really much you can do. Of course, you could have filters and stuff like that, but other than that, there's not really much you can do. So the best option would just be add a fuck ton of slaps down at the bottom of the wall. If you see somebody making a nuke and you can't interrupt with a cannon, then just make a fuck ton of slaps, and then you'll have to use multiple shots to get through that. At least that's what I see. That's at least what I see people do. Now I made that a little bit different here, so now we have plenty of slap boss. So adding slaps at the bottom of your wall to stop this cannon here won't really work. And of course, we can have the sand going all the way up, meaning you can shoot multiple shots in just one load. So if you have sand all the way up to sky limit, you'll be able to shoot maybe 4 or 5 times before the sand runs all the way out. This is give you a good opening if you're using alts to printer, meaning that down here at the cannon you'll be able to check, oh, okay, I can see I can shoot one more time, okay, I can shoot one more time, and then as soon as it starts getting low, then of course you know it's not going to work, but you'll be able to continue shooting while people might fix the alts or buy sand or something like that. So if something like that happens, you'll still be able to continue shooting, which is pretty important, especially when you're using a nuke, because you most likely want to use a nuke when people are online. You don't really want to raid with a nuke since it costs too much TNT and stuff like that. So using an efficiency nuke is probably more like an online thing, and therefore you just want to nuke a few walls before they find you and blow up the cannon. And if that's the case, well, this sand compression here is perfect for that. Now, getting into some more detailed stuff, we of course have order of entities, since this is efficiency nuke. It's similar to the normal nuke, or not normal nuke, but the other nuke we were talking about. I've released a bunch of cannons as well, but this right here is a little bit different because you're not taking your hammer twice. So this one down here, looks all this TNT right here is basically a second hammer. Now it's not as much hammer as that hammer up there. So if you were to take this twice, you will pretty much get the same thing, but we're using way less TNT to efficiency nuke this way than it would if you did it the other way. Another way was double pulsing your hammer, having the sand fall in between them, and it would work perfectly. But this right here is a little bit different. I wanna explain a little bit about that. So over here we have the second hammer. Over here we have the nuke, and the nuke is pretty much what we saw nuking it down. So if you want to make an efficiency nuke yourself, you have to get this one. Whoops, this one is the second hammer. You need that after the first hammer, and on top of that you need the second hammer to be on the same ticks as the nuke. Of course, it can't be the same ticks for everyone to take that like that, of course, but this right here has to be basically on the same tick, so it ticks off the same time, but it doesn't really because it's comparators and you name it. So the best way you can check this is to basically just try your way forward. If it doesn't nuke completely down, well, there's something wrong. Also, if something gets stuck like halfway into the sand, then something is wrong as well. But what you need is to make sure that all your sand right here, all the sand you need, is falling into the cobweb, and that is before you take your nuke. So if the nuke goes off first, then the sand starts falling, then you will see that the nuke will end off at the bottom at bedrock or whatever, because it's not auto affinities. If you do it right, activate all the sand first into the cobweb, then take your nuke off, meaning all the sand would already be stacked before the nuke comes in, because we activated that last, and that will pretty much work better than the other ways. So if you look at it, might be a little bit hard to see here, but you see it going off after all the other sand is down, and then of course we can have the nuke. But that's basically how you do that. There's not really much more into efficiency nuke than this. It's common. It's very simple, as long as you understand the concept of it. So it shouldn't be too hard for you to get that. But this right here is the 200 stacker efficiency nuke. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video here, and if you do, remember to like this video here. Comment down below if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything about this video here you want to have an answer for. Go ahead and leave a comment. But as always, guys, remember to subscribe to my channel. My name is Dexter, and I'm out.